Good evening, everyone. It's the Activated One, New Bright 10, the Futuritarian. This video is going to be some intel on the word radio. What does the word radio really mean? Like I said in my earlier videos, you have the dictionary main definition, and then you have a secret definition with codes in it, symbols and signs. Just like the Egyptians, when you're dealing with the Meta Neter, just like the Egyptians were using symbols and signs, and the Chinese and I think some of the Asian cultures had took that from us, and they use symbols and signs on some of their words and alphabets in their language. So the word radio. See, when you're dealing with these words, all these words that have that zero in it, that zero, that circle. That is a symbolism sign. It's a symbolism sign to make you subconsciously think about the hamster wheel, the circle, the doing everything over and over again. Give you an example. Look at the word school. When you look at the word school, you have 2 zeros in it. When you're dealing with the English language, and you're dealing with these Greco-Roman ancient priests, they used to sit. They didn't have nothing else to do but to do everything through codes, because they took that from Egypt. They took that from the Egyptians, how the Egyptians used to communicate. They used to communicate with hand signals. That's where you get the gang signs from, because the Egyptians used to communicate through hand signals, gestures, symbols and signs, because they didn't want the mass population to know what they were saying or know what they were doing if they had to carry out a mission or an agenda. So it's the same way with these words. These words that have these circles in them, when you're dealing with school, radio, just go do some research. I don't even like saying the word research, but you have to research certain things. That's why when people research people and they're going backwards, that's not going to move you forward into the future. Some certain things you can research, some things that you have to clean out your mind, make your mind into a clean slate so you can receive what's next. It's sort of like a computer hard drive. Just like a computer hard drive. When your hard drive has been flooded with all this information, what do you have to do? You have to clean out your hard drive to receive something that is to receive more information into your hard drive. Your mind works the same way. So when you're dealing with these words, all these words with these circles in it, that's the symbol code. See, that's the symbol code. School, 2 zeros in the word school. Because when you're dealing with school was always designed for the mass majority of people to work for a corporation or get a job and not start your own business. That's what school was designed for, to keep you in that circular loop process. That's why they have 2 zeros in the word school. You got a couple of independent people that went to school, and they strived and they did. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the masses. Because the right ones got to get into the future. That's why I do these videos, because we're moving forward into the future. In the year 2021, in the year 2022, there's going to be some more things that I'm going to be doing that's going to help build. See, this stuff takes time. I haven't even been doing these videos for a year. Everything takes time in this 3-dimensional realm. Whenever you rush and you want to rush through things, that's when stuff you run into more obstacles when you rush it, because you're going to run into obstacles anyway, even moving slow, but you kind of see them coming. You'll see the obstacles coming more rapidly because your mind's going to be more activated. It's going to be moving faster. So when you look at the word school, even the word home, all these words with these circles in them, that's the symbolism. That's the subconscious push on your mind to keep you doing something over and over again. Yeah, it's good to be at home, but what I'm saying is, like, you got a lot of people that the ones that's not going to be activated. You got a lot of people out here just sitting at home and ain't doing nothing. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all see them almost, at least once a week, a couple of times a month. The ones that sit at home and they don't do nothing, they're just parasites. They just sit. They feed off of mankind and feed off of the system. But that's fine, because when you see them, you have to automatically in your head know that they're not in the future. That's it. It's just that simple. It's not really hard to really process these people when you look at it. When you look at them, see, that's the thing about that movie They Live. Especially if you're young, if you're in your early 20s or your 30s and you haven't seen that movie They Live, they got a couple of scenes on YouTube, but that's how you start seeing the world. You start seeing through people. You don't see people, you see through them. You can see their soul, you can see their spirit. You can see both. You can see their soul and you can see their spirit. So you can see both of them. So that's the thing. So this word radio, when you're dealing with radio frequency, the word radio, what's the ray? What's the RA? The RA is the Ra. Or the RE, the receiver, the Ra. The D, the demented state. The demented state. They don't want you on a linear. They don't want you on a linear path going into the future. Because when you shoot a laser, what does a laser do? A laser goes straight. The laser's not worried about what's on the left. The laser's not worried about what's on the right. The laser's not worried about what's up or what's down. The laser's just moving. It's moving. That's what the I is in radio. And the O at the end is the circular mind to keep you in that hamster wheel. So when they send out these radio frequency waves, they're actually, the radio frequency waves that are being sent out is a circular mind frame frequency wave to keep you thinking about doing something over and over again, not being extended, not being activated, not having your DNA activated. That's why they use the word radio, because they know that the copper golden people on the planet, they know that we are the receivers, the Ra's. Ra, radio, Ra, receiver, R-E-R-A, either or is still a receiver. The D is the demented state. The I is the linear, keeping you from the linear. How do they do that? They always put that linear in there. Not always, but in some of these words, they put the linear in there and then a circle at the end of it, because that's the last thing they want you to do, is be on a hamster wheel mentally, because they know that sun's beaming down. They know that corona's getting hotter. They know that magnetism is shooting down, and certain people are going to be activated, and they know all this. And then there's certain ones on the planet right now that's activating minds, and I'm one of them. So when you're dealing with the word radio, like I said, the word radio is steering you from the Ra, the receiver, steering you away from that. Because they always know, there's a term, like I said, there's a term that there's nothing new under the sun. That is correct. But there's always something next coming out of it. Because everything that's coming out, the intel that's shooting out that sun, it's old intel that hasn't been on this planet yet. It's been somewhere else. Because when you're dealing with 13 billion years, it's been somewhere else. It's coming through that portal. Because the sun is nothing but a portal. The sun is one of the biggest portals. Is the biggest portal at this point in this solar system. That's why when a sun explodes to a supernova and implodes, it turns into a black hole. What is the black hole? The black hole is a portal. That's what that is. Porting the intel. Because these black holes, when these black holes start sucking in everything, you notice that they shoot out. They shoot out. Whatever's not worthy, they shoot that out. Sort of like a quasar. Sort of like a quasar. So these radio frequency waves, when you're dealing with the 5G, the reason why the 5G had to be put up, because every 10 years they have to upgrade their systems, because what happens is the magnetism from the sun that's beaming down on this planet, it's overriding the radio frequency wave, so they have to turn it up. They have to get it stronger because the sun's getting stronger, so you have to compare it with the sun. That's why they went to 5G, because they have to. It's a security issue also dealing with that. That's why you had to go to 5G, because the sun's getting hotter. That magnetism was throwing off the 4G. So you have to upgrade it to the 5G. It's stages to the evolution, and one of the stages is the 5G towers that's been put up, being put up, or been put up. So that's when you're dealing with the word radio. They're trying to divert your energy from the sun, from receiving the intel, receiving what's next. And also, the planet Saturn is nothing but a Saturn is an organic satellite. That's why they always tell you Saturn's Satan, Saturn's evil, Saturn's bad, because when you're dealing with Saturn, they had when you're dealing with Saturn, they had also push the Saturn, that Saturn is evil. Saturn is it's satanic. They do all this stuff for a reason, because one of the thing about Saturn is the rings around Saturn is it helps deflect and shoot intel down on this planet when you're dealing with the cosmos. That's what Saturn does. Saturn is an organic satellite. That's what Saturn is. It helps shoot down intel to this planet. And see, when you're dealing with the solar system, each planet serves a purpose. Each planet in the solar system serves a purpose. The moons, they serve a purpose too. When you're dealing with these 5G radio frequency waves, because they don't want you to be tapped in. These 5G, they're trying to cut off. What they're trying to do is cut off the intel through the sun that's beaming down on the planet. So they're trying to put a radio frequency dome over the planet. Excuse me. Put a radio frequency dome over the planet, but the intel still shooting through that. The intel still shooting through that dome. There's nothing they can do about the sun, because the sun is the biggest fire living organism that's in the solar system right now, that serves a purpose for the whole solar system. There's nothing you can do about this intel that's coming in. And the ones that's going to be after us are going to be super activated, because we down here on this planet for the forefront, the foresight, the fourth dimension in your forehead. Forget. See, forget what? Forget these doctrines. These old doctrines. Everybody, at one point in their life, they go backwards to receive it, because there's only 4 stages in this 3-dimensional realm. That's it. There's only 4 stages. The first stage is the religion stage. Your second stage will be the woke stage. Your third stage is the conscious stage. The fourth stage is the activation stage. And the majority of these people that's on the internet, they're still on the conscious stage. I mean, they elevated, they got past religion, they got the woke, now they're at conscious, and then we're here to activate you. And like I said, there's going to be some other things that I'm going to be doing with 2021 and 2022. As far as me getting the right ones, the activated ones together, and moving forward and collaborating on a monopoly, on a global monopoly, dealing with businesses and dealing with the certain ways. It's kind of like the way the Jews do it. So it's going to be working on that right now. So when you're dealing with these 5G radio frequency waves, the radio, the Ra, that's what they're diverting they want to take the Ra and the Re, which is the receivers from the sun, the intel. Just like when a plant, the tree grows and it evolves into something greater, something bigger, it's still a living organism, but it's not an advanced intelligent organism. But I'm using this as an example because that's what the sun does. The sun does that with the body also, in the mind, with the neurotransmitters, because everything is connected through a frequency. The whole universe is connected through frequencies and through portals. And that's one thing about when you're dealing with the world. See, another thing is too, the World Trade Centers. When you look at the World Trade Centers, what was the World Trade Centers? Remember that in those cartoons where they had that old magnet looked like a horseshoe, and it was a conductor. The World Trade Centers was conductors. They were receiving intel through the conductors of the World Trade Center because they have to make artificial conductors to receive the intel. They don't have the soul where they can receive it themselves. So they had to make an artificial conductor. So why was the towers? Why did the towers fall? Because that was a sign that their transmission is being cut off. Their antennas. What is an antenna? When you look at the old television, what was that? Back in the day, you had to put the tinfoil on the antenna and adjust it. It was a frequency that was being sent to your TV so you can see. It's the same thing when somebody's on channel 10, somebody's on channel 9, somebody's on channel 6. There's different frequencies, and it's also with the universe. The universe shoots out different frequencies, and certain people that are worthy will be able to tap into that frequency, to tap into the main frequencies to receive what's next, because it's never been about information. It's always been about the intel. Information informing your mutation. That's why the World Trade Centers failed, because their transmission is being cut off. Why do you think all this stuff is happening on the planet right now? Right? Because the World Trade Centers, what they were, those two buildings, they were magnets, they were antennas. They were receiving. That's why they had the tower points. They had the frequency antennas on the top of the trade centers, because they had to fall, because it's a new age, and certain people now, the new beings. What's a new being? A new being is a next being that's on the planet. That's what new being means. A new being. So we have organic antennas in our mind. See, because when you're dealing with the neural cortex, and you're dealing with the pineal gland, and you're dealing with the whole mind, the pineal gland deals with the consciousness. That's what the pineal gland deals with. It deals with consciousness. The neural cortex, like my mentor had broke down, deals with intel. It deals with what's next. Your whole mind works together in a unison as a machine. Everything in your mind serves a purpose. It ain't just about the pineal gland. It's been about your whole mind. That's why I tell you everything is mental first. So I was going to go back to mental, because the frequency and electricity that shoots out into the universe, everything is connected. The universe is the web. The universe is the real galactical web. It's a galactical web. Everything is connected in the universe. But you have to tap into your whole mind, not just your pineal gland, because the pineal gland just deals with consciousness. The neural cortex deals with intel. So your whole mind has to work together to get the right ones into the future. Because when I was watching a video today, and there was a guy, it was a Caucasian dude, European, and he was talking about they're finding these old skeleton bones, and they had put them into the system. They put them into the matrix system. They started looking at it. They started looking at the medulla oblongata, and they started. And the first thing that came out of his mind, the first thing that came out of his head when he had said, he said, "Oh, those are Nubians." Why would he even say that? Why would he say Nubians? Because Nubians is just short for new beings. The new beings that walk the planet. That's what Nubian means. It's the new beings. Because everything is always going to be new or next. That's what the whole solar system is, new or next. So when you're dealing with the word radio, it's the rod. They're trying to deflect you from the sun. That's why it's called the corona. That sun's called the corona for a reason. The coronavirus, they put the virus out. They're using the corona because they know that their satellites and their telescopes is seeing these flares from the sun expanding rapidly, because it's just like a fire. When a fire happens, when you can go online and look up, firefighters and their training. When they start that fire, it starts off so slow, but what happens within that first minute? All it takes is 1 minute. The next thing you know, that whole building, that whole shed, it was a shed. I was looking at it the other day. It was a shed that caught on fire. It started off so weak, but then once that stuff, once it got to its peak, it burnt that shed down so quick. That's what the sun's gonna do. See, when you're dealing with these polar caps, polar caps, Antarctica, Iceland, the North Pole, when that sun starts shooting down the mega flares, mega solar bursts, right? When that sun starts shooting down the mega solar bursts, it's like, okay, if I take a block of ice and it's already at its peak, the flame's already at its peak, and I put the ice into the fire, a block of ice. I say maybe a foot by foot ice slab, right? It's going to take that ice, probably a guesstimation. Don't really know. I'm using this as an example because that ice slab, it will melt rapidly. It will melt more faster. That's how the sun's going to melt these ice caps, and it's going to unlock all those old bacterias and all those old viruses that are going to be shot up into the air, and they're going to be going through the hemisphere, because they're going to be old viruses. These viruses that are old, these is ancient viruses. This ain't the stuff. If your DNA don't go back to when them viruses got locked, then on a massive scale, people are going to be in trouble as far as the viruses go. That's why you got a mask on your face, because it's a global test run from when them polar caps melt, and then the axle's going to shift, and then somewhere else on the planet it's going to be frozen. It's going to take time to do it, but it's going to be kind of rapidly, just like when you throw some water into the freezer and make ice cubes. When you come back in about an hour or two, that ice is frozen. The ice is ice already. It's going to be the same thing with the planet. But that's breaking down the real definition of the word radio frequency. The radio is the Ra, the RA, the Ra. They're trying to cut you off from the Ra, the receiver. What is the receiver? The receiver is you. Where does it come from? The intel's coming from the sun and also coming from the universe. It's coming from both. There's always going to be frequency waves and sound that moves through space. And when sound moves through space, you can't even hear it until it hits a dense object, and it goes through an atmosphere. That's when you can hear the sound. So this is the quick video breaking down. When you look at these words, you'll see, if you really start looking at words, you'll see school's one of them. There was school, work. Work got a zero in it too. Look at that word work. WORK. School. Why would they have the zero in there? That circular mind frame. They put that in there as the same way the Egyptians used to use signs for codes. It's the same way. They took everything from the Egyptians. That's why they rep the pyramids on their dollars and all that stuff, because they already know, man. They move as codes. The whole planet is built off numbers and codes. But it's the activated one. New Brighton, the Futuritarian. Good night.